Hello and welcome to Municipal Matters here on Your TV. I'm your host, York Bellsmith. On this episode, we're joined by Municipality of Port Hope Mayor Bob Sanderson. Bob, once again, thank you very much for taking time to join us. Catch us up a little bit on how you're handling all of this COVID-19 pandemic since the last time we chatted.
Well, thanks for asking, and I think I'm handling things quite well. Very busy. Wouldn't mind a little time off here and there, but overall, getting a lot of support throughout the municipality for projects from council, from staff, and on a personal basis, when I really do need to take a breather, I take a little bit of time, and that's the message I give to staff and everybody else, which is, look after yourself, or you can't look after anybody else. So thanks for the question, but no, I'm feeling good. I'd like to see this end like everybody would, and get back to a cold beer with some friends or something on a patio. But we're working our way there, and this virtual situation where people can at least converse is very helpful.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it's showing just exactly what we can do with technology. One of the big stories locally that happened this week is happening in Cobourg, where Cobourg Council decided to close Victoria Park Beach, fence it off until August the 31st. The municipality of Port Hope has a bit of experience in that, having fenced off access to the Ganaraska River. Your thoughts on Cobourg's decision, and could that have any effect on the beaches moving forward this summer in Port Hope?
Well, first off, I commend Cobourg Council for wrestling with this problem. It's a very difficult discussion. I'm sure it was very, very active, and lots of people will feel one way or the other from the municipal perspective. But I think given the history of Victoria Beach and the popularity and the emergency order still going on, we're not at the end of this, they made absolutely the right decision. And as you said, we made that difficult decision in Port Hope to restrict the river, specifically on the opening weekend of fishing, because we traditionally would have lots of people come in. And Victoria Beach is a very popular beach, and I think would have the same situation. So I think being proactive and early was the right thing to do. I think that'll also give them time to figure out how to handle it, maybe from a local basis, or to not just put the fence up and turn their back on it. But I think it was a good decision. We've seen the numbers, go up and down in Ontario. We're not out of the woods, and yet people still seem to be, breaking the distance rules. And certainly when you get maybe a bunch of younger people and people coming in from Toronto who are being confined, I've seen them on the beaches. I just don't see them not having that Trinity Woods situation that they had in Toronto. So I think Cobourg's doing the right thing to look after their citizens, and then first restrict it, and then figure out how it's going. Your other comment about what will the impact be on maybe other beaches, including Port Hope's, I don't think we're too worried about it. I've been asked that question already, and we're not prepared to close our beaches or do anything. We'll deal with it when we see if it should happen. We do have a couple of lovely smaller beaches. Not as developed as Cobourg, so we haven't had a history of a lot of people using. It's mostly a local use, and we would still encourage that, but with all the distancing rules. So I don't foresee there's going to be a negative impact on us. With the fishing, there was probably some level of negative impact on other communities where fishing anglers went elsewhere.
Right.
But we did the right thing, and I think Cobourg did the right thing. And through the summer, if they can have local access or deal with it, I know they'll deal with it well.
Another big announcement that came this past week, and you sort of alluded to it, the emergency order has been extended now until the end of June. June 29th, I believe, is the final date at this point. What effect is that going to have on the municipality?
Well, it's a good question, in that I don't know that it's going to have any particular impact. We've not declared an emergency in Port Hope. We've been able to maintain our staff. All our projects are on track, in some cases maybe a little bit ahead. What I guess I'm supportive of it, specifically because it does allow the provincial government to do what they said they want to do, which is go through some gradual openings. If it stops, I don't know what sort of ability we have to enforce the distancing rules, to look at who can open and when they open and how they open, and get the health department. So I see it only as a maintenance of the gradual opening process that helps protect people. but somebody's got to have some authority, and this does give the provincial government, the authority to help us through this process.
Right. And June is going to be a very busy month. It is not only is it Recreation Month, it's Seniors Month, it's also Pride Month. I know the Pride flag is flying at Town Hall, it's flying at the police station as well. What is planned to handle all of these in a situation where you can't gather in groups of more than 5 people? I know that I'm sure there's going to be a lot of virtual activities planned.
Yep, and we had it's graduation for a lot of students as well, and these are all
Right.
kind of celebrations that we would normally be participating in. So I think they're all going to have to be restructured to some degree. The graduates, I've been talking to some of them, want to maybe do a motorcade, some acknowledgement. We're talking to potentially give some acknowledgement in the core area, and that's whether it's in a college school, the private school, or whether it be Port Hope High School. I think the community has rallied around our high school strongly, so I certainly would like to see some community involvement. It'd have to be either virtual, or it'll be virtual, but also physical distancing. So as a motorcade could end up a location as a group, and then maybe there's Mike, whatever, who would then be given a valedictorian speech. They're all going to have to, do this in a creative manner, and I'm sure that the graduates of 2020 are going to look back to do it in years gone by, and we were very, very special.
That they're going to have to
And
be
with
a
respect
resilient
to
group.
Pride,
Yeah, Pride
yeah,
Month.
and as far Pride is an extremely important thing for the municipality. We're very proud of how diverse we are, and we do have the rainbow flag going up it is up at Town Hall and the police station, as you said. And we'll have communication strategies throughout the week, that acknowledge Pride Week. But in addition, I think it needs to be entrenched a little bit deeper, as we've seen all the activities through the United States and what have you. That this has to be get into our culture. It can't just be a 1 week. To me, it should be all the time, with acknowledgement maybe 1 week. And I think Port Hope and with all the support that we provide strongly feels that way. As far as Seniors Month, same sort of thing. We can't have all the normal things we'd have. The Ruth Clark Center is closed, so there are some virtual programs going on, run through Parks and Rec to acknowledge the value that our senior citizens are bringing to the community generally. Things like a historic photo contest. Those we've all looked back when we were kids and looked at some of the pictures and said, "Oh my goodness, can't believe I wore that." So we're going to keep we're going to keep these things front and center, and our Parks and Rec department has been stellar through many years, of supporting the seniors, supporting juniors and everybody else, and they're very creative, and they've got a full month of activities that the seniors are going to participate in.
And this has been particularly hard for our senior population because of the fact that they're separated from family, from their children and their grandchildren and great-grandchildren in a lot of cases. Very important to be able to work on some programs for them through this, especially during Seniors Month and right through the entire pandemic for as long as it goes.
Yep, I hear it all the time about grandparents, lamenting that they can't see their grandchildren. That's probably the strongest one. I hear some parents would like to get rid of their kids for a few days, but I think the family values are being strengthened if nothing. And I see that younger adults are more concerned about their parents, particularly if they're in senior facilities and what have you. And it kind of shakes you and makes you acknowledge, wow, I've taken this for granted, and maybe I shouldn't be. And to start to have that value of the elders, and the experience and all the things that they offer and have offered the community through generations, we need to be very cognizant of that. So yes, it's been difficult, but hopefully there'll be also some good comes out of it.
Right, absolutely. Talk to us now about the Leisure Services Master Plan campaign.
That's a very important campaign. The Parks and Recs and Culture department has just finished and is winding up their last 10-year plan, and that really sets a guiding light to all the activities going forward for the 10 years. It's not carved in stone, but the general concept certainly is directional. And by that I mean it's adjustable and adapts accordingly to whatever is needed. We've had in the municipality several master plans, and all of them deliver a high level of value because they're long-term looking, and I think the 1 year short activities, like even our budgets, don't deliver as the kind of value that the long-term strategies do. So these kind of things really invest in what our priorities are for basically the recreational activities, the cultural activities, health, vitality, and fun. You want to live in a community that has all those values, and they can't just that you have them if you don't actually deliver on them. And so the guiding light, and I got to tell you that our Parks and Recreation and Culture Department has done a stellar job. I think they delivered on their entire 10-year plan, along the way, and made all the adjustments, accordingly as well. So this will have a lot of public engagement, to go forward. And the fact that we're starting a new plan under a pandemic, kind of might change things a little bit. I'm not sure about that, but I expect that you'll have a lot more focus on the value over the next 10 years of recreation facilities, cultural, their heritage, all those kind of things. And remember that part of this is we're a very blended community with 95% of our areas is agricultural. So, not to sort of think of this as all urban, because it's definitely an entire municipality broad plan. It'll take a while to get together and do it all. The most important part, of course, is the public engagement, because people out there need to tell us what to do. I mean, there's no sense me telling you what you're going to do in 20 years or 10 years.
And of course, with all this starting up in the middle of a pandemic that we don't know when it's going to end or how it's going to go, this leisure services master plan has to be something that is very fluid and very adaptable right from the get-go, including the planning process, right?
Yeah, and remember, it does cover culture, recreation, indoor, outdoor, young people, old people. So it's a very extensive plan, and also it needs to fit our overall strategic goals, which are what is this community going to be like in 10 years? This is a segment of it, and do we want 25 more traffic lights and subdivisions and smokestacks, or do we not? I think not, of course. but by the same token, it's up to the population, of all ages, and it's not. This isn't a senior plan. This is a community-driven plan for all ages. We're putting in our new splash pad. That sort of stuff is all part of the previous plan. So where are we going with this, and what kind of quality of life will be in the municipality when you're living here with your kids, raising your family, or working? That this is going to be very, very important. So it's an exciting thing. I know our staff is very excited about it, and I hope that we can get the public as excited about it, because in effect, it's their plan in the end.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. Lots of work still going on in the municipality. We'll talk about that, including your search for a new CAO, when Municipal Matters continues after the break here on your TV. Welcome back to Municipal Matters here on your TV. I'm your host, York Bellsmith. We are joined by Municipality of Port Hope Mayor Bob Sanderson. Bob, once again, thank you very much for taking the time. Still, business has to go on with the municipality, and that includes your search for a new CAO. Where are we with your search?
Well, we're right on track, York. It was put into our 2020 budget, and so that was approved. Once that was approved, we formed a selection committee to move it forward with our HR manager as well. And the first task of that committee was to select a company who would do the recruitment process and assist us in finding the right candidate. That has gone well. We picked Price Waterhouse, a Waterhouse company, to do that, and we've had a significant number of interviews and discussions, including input from all our directors, senior directors, and council. So we certainly came to define what kind of a person, what kind of a role is this going to be. It's not a status quo. We're really excited that we would like to bring in a, kind of a quarterback, or it's a support person to really consolidate and move forward with all the great things that we think are coming. We're not going to bring in a CAO and say, here's all the problems we'd like you to solve. We're been operating the last 5 years with a CAO, and I think we've done a very good job. And as a result, we've got a very collaborative directors team. So when it comes to, can we, solicit and get the right person to be a CAO and come to a small community, we think we're kind of in the driver's seat to some degree. It is a beautiful community. We have a great, a group of directors. We have a lot of collaboration. We have a good council. So I think it's a very attractive community to come to, but not one that you're going to come to and be complacent. We have a lot of things we want to do. So we're going to be looking for somebody with a lot of gas in the tank, so to speak, fire in the belly, all that kind of stuff. But it's got to be somebody who loves to be in a small community. We've got to have engagement, kind of at all levels. So we're very optimistic, and certainly the recruitment company that we're working with, who's done a lot of this, says we shouldn't have a problem. This is a great opportunity for somebody. And the discussion comes up: are you looking for somebody who's about to retire, or somebody young, or male or female? And we've universally said we would like to have at least a 5-year window, because moving things forward is going to be a tremendous task, but very rewarding. So not too many parameters on it, other than what I've said. Lots of ability to work with people, get engaged with the community, and really take the reins and move us forward. That's the key element, I think. Coming to rest on your laurels in a small community, not the person for us.
Right, exactly. Now, 5 years ago, the decision was made, as you mentioned, to go without a CAO. There was some pushback on that, but as you said too, everybody did a really stellar job. The directors coming together, staff coming together. Why now, after 5 years, make the decision to go back to bringing in a CAO?
Well, quite frankly, it's time. The structure's there. You don't hire your quarterback until you got your team picked out. So the strategic, because we've gone through one council, this is the second council. All our directors, really are working well together and collaboratively, but they can use support now. They need a consolidated, front, somebody to work for them and with them and moving things forward, to work as a liaison with council. We wouldn't have survived without both good council, collaboration with the directors, and great directors and staff. We don't want to lose that, because we have a huge investment over a period of time doing that. So I equate it to a quarterback, and the timing is right. We're getting into our very active time, and coincidentally with COVID-19, it probably couldn't be better to do our planning for leisure. Our CAO coming in. I see nothing but excitement and opportunities ahead of us.
Well, that's good. It's good to have that positive attitude, and it's, again, that's not an easy thing these days and age, or this day and age. Now we're talking about work continuing in the municipality. Committee work maybe resuming in the near future. How's that going to look?
Well, we just had that discussion at council yesterday, and I think we're taking a step process. All committees can meet if necessary. So there's nothing to hold anybody back. But what we're trying not to do is make them go back when they're not ready and onto any sort of a regular meeting pattern. Some committees, such as the Committee of Adjustments, have a little bit higher priorities on getting a couple of things done that are in front of them from the planning and development processes. But we're at the point now where we're going, yes, you can meet. You'll meet virtually. It won't meet physically. It can be called by the chair, right, and will obviously be structured and supported properly, but it's on an as-need basis at this point in time. So we'll see which ones need it, don't need it, and I think the next step will take probably, it might be a month, or maybe when the emergency orders finish, then we can sort of tidy up our committees and get them back to doing what they would like to do, with a regular meeting schedule. So right now, our first step was to say it's okay. you're allowed to meet. The chair can call it as needed, but we're not trying to push into it.
Right. And for the foreseeable future, and maybe even a little bit more permanently, these could all or would all be virtual meetings.
Well, that's to be determined, because I think some of the good things that have come out of the situation could be sustainable over time. I mean, I've been able to attend some meetings that I probably couldn't have if I had to be there physically. I can get on very quickly to a meeting. We have had broader participation, sometimes in public engagement. I would speak the same thing, I would suspect, for other municipalities. I know from the county the same sort of thing. Department meetings and committee meetings and discussions over on a virtual basis in some cases have had distinct advantages. I don't know if the provincial government will define when you can and you can't do those kind of things going forward, particularly on maybe the more legislated council and committee of the whole. They may have to go back to a more physical approach. But we've been operating really well, and our council meetings and our committee of the whole meetings, our in-camera meetings, are being very effective. Everything that's in the community that needs to be getting done is getting done. Parks and Rec probably take the biggest hit because our buildings are closed and those kind of things. But overall, we have some major projects that are moving on. If anything, they're ahead of schedule. So
right,
really, I hope some of the good stays, and we'll have to discuss that. But I certainly, in many ways, prefer to be across the table from you when I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Oh, no, exactly. I hear you there for sure. One of the committees that I sat on for a couple of years was the Civic Awards Committee. And now there's talk of a virtual Civic Awards program, which sounds like it could be very interesting.
Yeah, we again gave that direction to staff last night. We do not want to miss our Civic Awards. We think they're extremely valuable, and we need to recognize those people in our community who are contributing so greatly and on a volunteer basis. So we have asked staff to come back to us with a format to have a virtual celebration and acknowledge the award recipients. And so how can we acknowledge them? And I think with the experience we're having so far, I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to do something fairly good. As I said, this is not something that can be put over. We need to acknowledge it, and we'll do it virtually. And they needed that approval of council to do that. And so I look forward to see what they'll come back. Jeannie Maidens is a mainstay of working on that, and it's a smaller committee, so they do a lot of work. They probably need a award themselves, quite frankly. Like you were on that, weren't you?
Yes, I was for a couple of years.
Yeah, but some things will be deferred, totally till next year. This is not one of them. We want to proceed with our Civic Awards.
And timing of it, you're looking either later on in the summer or into September. The positive with that is there are a number of different things along these lines, like Canada Day celebrations, that are going to go all virtual. So there'll be some examples set throughout the county, and you as warden will have access to all of those that may be able to help with this in the planning of it and what can be done with technology.
Yep, and we have our departments are quite good on the IT. Our tourism department has a lot of I think ability, talent. Jeannie Maidens herself, I think, is very talented in coming up with some good ideas. I participated in some of the discussion. I'd like to think I come up with ideas too, but
right.
Maybe they just smile at me because I'm mayor, and what have you. But no, we need to make sure that there's acknowledgement, and that everybody's participating and feels they were appropriately acknowledged.
Definitely important. We are starting to run out of time, but there was discussion at the committee of the whole meeting on June the 2nd on temporarily closing Walton Street between Mill and Queen for bar and restaurants to have more space. Not the first municipality to consider this idea. Talk to us about the discussion.
Well, it started with, I think, our deputy mayor having some discussion, generally in committee of the whole, bringing forward a notice of motion supported by Councillor Lees. A notice of motion means you just are aware that this will come up to the next committee of the whole. Procedurally, we did not discuss it. You can if you change your procedural bylaw at the time, but really I think we need to let everybody mull this over. Generally, the proposal was clearly that from Queen Street to Mill Street, i.e. where the bridge is, would be closed, and that would help some of the merchants and particularly the restaurateurs. I think it'll be a lively discussion because I personally like to see these things come to council versus council driving things downwards. So there's been no consultation that I'm aware of with the HBIA, the chamber, the merchants themselves. So I'm sure that'll occur over the next 2 weeks, and there'll be a lot of discussion at the committee of the whole two weeks from now. I certainly commend all the ideas that are coming forward that suggest how can we help. I put forward that I would like to see us defer the municipal charges for the patios that go out. We've got a few restaurants that pay to have patio space and have kind of rented the patios themselves. I think this is the year we should defer that. There's been talk about, can they spread out their patio onto municipal property? I'm totally supportive of that. I think that is not unattainable, can be done safely, and in fact probably increases the safety from the COVID-19 perspective. I've told them they need to work with the liquor licensing board because that's somewhat of an issue. And had those conversations with the provincial government that if there's any area they need to stop the red tape, it's in those areas. I think you should be able to go in the art gallery and have a glass of wine without having 2 weeks of a special permit waiting through. So
you've been watching Municipal Matters here on Your TV. I'm your host, York Bellsmith, and we will see you next time.